In the year 2010, the chess world has witnessed really one of the most epic and most spectacular world championship matches of all times. Veselin Topalov and Vishy Anand played incredible 12 rounds of brutal, sharp tactical chess, and the games were so incredible. We had many winning games by them, and they played really aggressive openings, but they also played aggressive defenses. They played many Grunfelds, many Catalan openings. Really one of the most beautiful openings that we can see in the world. And actually, the match started really in a good way for Veselin Topalov. He destroyed Vishy Anand in the round one in only 30 moves, and he destroyed Vishy Anand's Grunfeld defense immediately. But then Vishy turned the match around, played two incredible, really immortal games in the Catalan opening, destroyed Veselin Topalov in the two next games, and then Veselin eventually managed to equalize the result again with a beautiful, beautiful tactical performance. And actually, the World Championship match between the two of them was decided in the last game, where Veselin Topalov played with the white pieces and Vishy Anand played with the black pieces. And the choice, the opening, the defense that Vishy Anand played in the last round was so shocking. He played really the rare opening, the so-called Lasker defense of the Queen's Gambit decline. And with this game, with this beautiful, sharp tactical gameplay by Topalov and Anand, we are starting now our mini series of the Lasker defense. So this will be now our next subject of our Queen's Gambit decline studies. If you haven't maybe followed my YouTube chat channel, I've started this Queen's Gambit decline studies where we have covered many openings, many defenses like the Chigorin defense, Tarrasch defense, semi-Tarrasch, and many good openings that are possible in the Queen's Gambit decline. And recently we have covered also the Cambridge Springs defense, but also Capablanca's anti-Cambridge Springs ideas, and now we're starting the so-called Lasker defense from whites and from blacks perspective. So in this mini series we'll see now the most important strategic concepts of this opening. So in my opinion, the most popular, really the coolest game that has been played in chess history in the Lasker defense was really this one, Veselin Topalov against Vishy Anand. Be prepared, this is really, really beautiful chess again, played by both of them. And as I said, in the continuation we'll follow also, I think for sure, this beautiful World Championship match in 2010, because really the games were so incredible, really beautiful games both of them played. So let's see now what is the actual goal of the Lasker defense and what are the most important strategic and tactical ideas of this opening. So after move d4, we're playing now the move d5 from black's perspective. c4, of course, the Queen's Gambit, and after move e6, the Queen's Gambit declined. The basic here idea of maybe knight to f6, knight to c3, e6, we're playing the same move order. Now after move bishop to g5, we play something like bishop to e7, and after move e3, the strategic concept of the Lasker defense is this hop of the knight, this jump on e4. And this is a simplified way to play the game. If it creates, of course, immediately and now in the tension between the minor pieces. Usually, the main line would be something like this: bishop to e7, queen to e7, and now white has to already make a reaction. For instance, if knight takes e4 happens, then d takes e4 creates a space advantage for black. Black has now a dominant position on the fourth rank, has now really this pawn, and the main idea I think here is to kingside castle, then to play f5, and if the position allows it, also to play the move f4. The downside, I think, a little bit of the Lasker defense is, of course, that your pawn structure is doubled. You have really not such a healthy pawn structure, and your light square bishop is actually not a good piece, because here the light square bishop is simply blocked out by its own pawn structure. So that's, I think, the most important problem of the Lasker defense from black's perspective. In some other occasions, I think this is perfectly fine. There is a certain rule that I like to apply when it comes to Lasker defense ideas, because you can play, of course, this hop, this move knight to e4 also in the later stage of the game. You don't have to immediately play knight to e4. You can also delay it. You can play something, I don't know, b6, bishop to b7, knight to d7, kingside castling, a6, b5. So I'm not sure which kind of an opening you like to play, but the Lasker defense idea is actually this hop of the knight on e4, and you can delay it. And I have this rule, at least I'm applying it whenever you have time to delay the move knight to e4, as much as you can do so. So delay the move as much as you can and then do this hop on e4. Develop your pieces, secure the king by castling, maybe even chase away the bishop here with the move h6 when the bishop comes on h4, then maybe hop with the knight on h4, because then it's a different story. Then the pieces are maybe also a little bit misplaced by white. So as I said, there is this rule at least I'm applying, as I said, delay as much as you can this knight on e4 move. Because now in the beginning, if you play it too early, then white can also do something else. Maybe white can also castle queenside, maybe white can also challenge you then afterwards with the move f3. He doesn't have to play, of course, immediately knight takes e4 and similar stuff. So it gives him, I think, also a great flexibility. So let's go now to, again, this game between Topalov and Vishy Anand, and how we should usually use now this Lasker defense method. After move bishop to g5 that your opponent is playing, I like to go into the so-called Cambridge Springs defense. For instance, after move e3, now with the move c6, and if now white continues with the move knight to c3, then we have this beautiful opportunity of the Cambridge Springs defense. Don't worry, we have covered the Cambridge Springs defense already here, also from black's perspective. In my opinion, it's really one of the best defenses here to play from black's perspective. So now you see with the move queen to a5, we can again play knight to e4, bishop to b4, and I think you have a good game. You have a great tension around the square c3. So here in the continuation of your opponent, instead of this move knight to c3, he can of course play this move a3, and it prevents now your idea of queen to a5. It's not allowing you to play queen to a5, and then of course b4 is going to happen. So it's, in my opinion, now not possible to play this Cambridge Springs idea. So please check out our mini series about the Cambridge Springs defense, and then also about this particular lines of the anti-Cambridge Springs, the so-called Capablanca variation. So now after move a3, my recommendation is now to go here with the move bishop to e7. After knight to c3, we castle, rook to c1, and after h6, bishop to h4. Now we play this Lasker idea, this Lasker hop. Notice white has played now many moves. White has delayed also the situation here around the square c4, is waiting you maybe to pick up here the bishop with the pawn on c4, then the bishop comes out within tempo. And now it's a different story, because after bishop to e7, queen to e7, notice your opponent has already played the move a3, and after something like knight to e4, d takes e4, and knight to d2, we have of course the opportunity to play now f5. If your opponent doesn't react here with this knight move, if he plays something like bishop to d3, then the cool part is that we can actually pick up here the knight on c3, and your opponent cannot take the pawn, the knight with the pawn, because he loses his a3 pawn. It's now a different story if you haven't played this moves before, or if you play immediately in the beginning, like we said, if you play this hop without this move a3 that hasn't played so far. It's, I think, a different story. So that's the point about it. As I said, whenever you have the opportunity to delay this move knight to e4, do so, because you can do it always, but wait a little bit. Maybe your opponent will play a3, maybe will even weaken his pawn structure with the move b3, then maybe we can also attack the darker. So the knight on e4 Lasker defense move, we call it really the Lasker move. You can delay, but don't forget about this idea, because it's a liberating idea. It equalizes the game. Probably you get many drawish positions, but in a different way. Maybe you can play also much more aggressively. So as I said, this is now the strategic concept of the Lasker defense. So let's now really go to this beautiful gameplay by Topalov and Anand. So after move d4, d5, c4, and e6, Topalov went knight to f3, knight to f6, and after knight to c3, bishop to e7 was played by Anand, and now bishop to g5 here by Veselin Topalov. h6, you see, again, we are delaying the knight to e4 move. We're not playing it immediately. We're chasing away the bishop. The bishop is now a little bit loose because it's only protected once. There is now this hop, and we have here a great tension on dark square. So in the continuation, kingside castling e3, and now Vishy plays this move knight to e4 immediately. And from this point on, Vishy is searching for a clarification. In my opinion, the Lasker defense you really use if you want to play a draw. And probably Vishy said here, okay, I want to get a draw. This is now the game 12. Then I would force at least additional games. We'll play the tie breaks, maybe some rapid games and similar stuff. So after move knight to e4, here Vishy is really searching just to maybe get a drawish line. So in the continuation, after bishop to e7, queen to e7, and now rook to c1. If you play knight to c3 here, then you see also b takes c3 is a possibility. And notice previously when white played the anti-Cambridge Springs setup with the move a3 that we have explained please, really please check out my previous series, so you see it in the playlist before this particular video. It's a different story. Now white can play the c takes d5, and he'll push this pawn even further, this other double pawn he'll push, and then I think you could have really great pressure here on the c file. So in my opinion, you should wait when your opponent is playing now the move a3, and it's a different story, because now, as we said, after move knight to c3, b takes c3, the pawn on a3 would be simply hanged. So as I said, you get it out of this Cambridge Springs defense idea. So in the continuation, after move rook to c1, here c6 was played by Vishy Anand. If of course here in any of these moves white continues with this move, knight to e4, again d takes e4, and notice if knight to e5 happens, then we play probably c5 here, will undermine a little bit here the pressure, then we'll challenge also the knight with the move knight to d7, and here finally I think black should be perfectly fine. Also, if of course white goes to d2, as I said also in the beginning, then we play f5, knight to d7, knight to f6, maybe b6, bishop to b7, c5 is an opportunity, maybe f4, f4 in the later stage you can push, maybe f3 if of course white castles. So in my opinion, good game here for black for sure. So as I said, after move queen to e7, we have now rook to c1, we have c6 by Vishy, bishop to e2, knight takes c3, rook takes c3, d takes c4, and after bishop to c4, now knight to d7 by Vishy. He's trying now this idea, c5 or e5. These are the methods to break here the small pawn chain, this powerful central control that Veselin Topalov has built with this e3 d4 pawn structure, because we have to say it, white is really a dominant position in the center. White has here 2 pawns against 1 pawn of black, so that's why with c5 or e5 we should simply undermine the pressure now in the game. So in the continuation, kingside castling, b6, we have bishop to d3, c5, and after bishop to e4 that Veselin Topalov played, Vishy Anand played a rook to b8, getting out of the range, and you see now the bishop, okay, it's centralized, it's great, but actually it's not attacking now on the queen side anything. I think this bishop could be much better now if black's maybe occupying this this diagonal. So from this point on, I think at least black has gained equality. So in the continuation, queen to c2, it's a battery of course, but I think you would love to have a different battery. Maybe when the queen is on e4 and your bishop is on c2, then of course you would even threaten some checkmates. But okay, so far so good. After queen to c2, knight to f6, hitting the bishop, we have now d takes c5, and after knight to e4, queen to e4, we have now this line, b takes c5, and it becomes now a bishop versus knight middle game here for Anand. And okay, it's a powerful bishop now. The bishop will come on b7, but the main issue is, I think, here the isolated pawn on c5, and this pawn on c5 will have here really a specific story of this beautiful game, because Topalov will of course try to attack it. It's a weakness, it's an isolated pawn, and when you create an isolated pawn for your opponent, you should attack it. But it's so hard to take out this pawn. You see now why, because after queen to c2, notice also that the b2 pawn is hanging. So Vishy opened now also the b file, and he has now also some great chances in the game. So in the continuation, bishop to b7, notice now again, if rook to c5 happens, then we have this one, bishop to f3, g takes f3, we have now this one, queen to f6, we can attack the pawn on f3, and now also the pawn on b2, and with this weakened pawn structure in front of the king, white could have now many positional problems. So this is not working. So that's why after move bishop to b7, knight to d2 was played by Topalov. He's trying also of course to somehow maybe knight to b3, knight to e4, he's trying to attack the pawn on c5 further. We have rook from f to d8, and here f3 was played by Topalov. He's trying now to lock the bishop by pushing the pawn to e4. Again, rook to c5 is not working, because of course rook takes d2 is going to happen, the queen gets deflected from the defense of the rook, and now this is game over for white. So see, there is always this tension around the square c5, but white can never really capture the pawn immediately. So here the continuation f3, as we said by Topalov, he is waiting to make progress with the move e4. Now bishop to a6, Vishy gets this bishop in a beautiful way into the game, and now Topalov played, I think, so far a good game. We cannot really say that he made mistakes in accuracy of something, but now he makes really his first mistake. He placed a rook to f2, and this wasn't good. A better choice is to play rook to c1. You have to continue, I think, with your battery. If you play rook to f2, then you don't have a connection anymore between the queen, you don't have the connection between the rook, so the rook is really misplaced on the second rank. As I said, after rook to c1 that Topalov should have played, we can play of course this one, queen to d7, and now after knight to b3, continuing the pressure here around the square c5. White get challenged probably with the move c4, but now after knight to a5, rook to c8, and after this one, knight to c4, bishop to c4, rook to c4, rook takes, queen takes, and now of course also black can pick up the pawn on b2, and this should be pretty much an equal game, and this I think should end with a draw. So nothing spectacular I think in this particular position, but Topalov played rook to f2, allowed now here again Vishy Anand to regroup. If you play of course here rook to c5, again rook takes b2 is going to happen. Again the queen gets deflected from the defense of the rook, then of course the black's pieces are much more active, and you see now the problems of the move rook to f2. You have left your first rank, you have left really your protection of the back rank, and again you could face now many tactical problems. That was the actual I think problem of the move rook to f2. You have left simply your first rank, and this is not a good position anymore. So after move rook to d7, here g3 was played by Topalov. We have rook to d8, we have king to g2, and now bishop to d3, queen to c1, bishop to a6, rook to a3, and now after bishop to b7, here Vishy builds a beautiful attacking chance now on this diagonal with this beautiful light square bishop. Of course rook takes a7 is not working, you get this one, then you lose decisive material. So that's why after bishop to b3, knight to b3, and now rook to c7, knight to a5, and now bishop to a8. Vishy is still staying with this powerful bishop on this beautiful diagonal. Again, nothing spectacular. If black again plays the game correctly, I think nothing should happen here, although black has maybe the better minor piece, but of course with this much more worse pawn structure, of course white has also some chances in the game. So that's why the normal idea is now to play here like Topalov did, knight to c4, and he would I think also keep the position compact with ideas of b3 where the knight could be maybe just chased away. This would be then really a powerful knight. So in the continuation we have now e5. So Vishy is playing I think the normal idea. He's trying now to get this bishop active by pushing the pawn to e4. e4 was played by Topalov, and now comes the critical moment of the game. Vishy plays f5, and he's liberating now the diagonal. And what Topalov should have done, of course, is knight to d2, and this solves, I think, every positional problem in the game. If you want to take, then of course we can recapture with the knight here. If you pass through maybe with the move f4, then we can lock the position with the move g4, and I think again white would solve every positional problem in the game. But what Topalov did, he took e takes f5, and this gives now Vishy great chances at the game because he opened now the position with the move e4. And again, there are many things you can do. You can play rook to e3, at least trying to battle somehow. After e takes f3, you get out of the range, and okay, this is maybe not the optimal position because your king is a little bit stuck here, but as I said, maybe this could work for a while. What Topalov did, he did the worst thing. He played f takes e4, and now the bishop is coming in a beautiful and brutal way into the game. For queen to e4, we have this powerful battery. You cannot go on the back rank, you get even probably checkmated. You have to escape here on this weird square on h3, and from this point on the game is basically over. The evaluation is almost +6 here in black's favor because of this brutal activity of the light square bishop of this battery. So it's simply game over. Rook to d4, the knight gets attacked now twice by the rook and the queen. You have to step back. Knight to e3, queen to e8. Look at this, all of these light squares are so weak now in white position. g4, we have now h5, we have king to h4, we have now g5 by Vishy Anand, and after f takes g6 en passant, Vishy comes here with the queen in a beautiful way into the game. In this series strategy, of course, a rook to g4 followed with queen to g4. This would be, of course, a checkmate. So that's why here we have this one, rook to g4 anyway, played by Vishy. Now we have to play king to h3, as we said. After knight to g4, a queen to g4 is a checkmate. Rook to e7, attacking now the knight. We have a rook to f8, the check, king to king to g7, and after knight to f5, it seems so, of course, that something maybe went wrong here for Viswanathan, because he got the fork here, he'll lose maybe the rook, but now he simply stepped back because you don't have time to pick up the knight on e7. You get this one, a rook to h4, king to h4, and then again queen to g4 would be a beautiful checkmate here by black. So that's why after king to h7, rook to g3 was played, rook takes g3, h takes g3, we have queen to g4 check, king to h2, and now this rook is coming into the game in a beautiful way. King to g1, rook to g2. You cannot, of course, play here. You get checkmated, so that's why you have to sacrifice now the queen for the rook and the bishop. After king to g2, now a check by Vishy, queen to e2. After king to h3, c4. Here simply advancing the pawn, and what Vishy is trying to do is, of course, here to pick up the pawn and let his pawn roll, and this should be game over. So in the continuation, a4, we have a5, and rook to f6, king to g8, knight to h6, again an attack against the rook, rook to b6, queen to e4, again king to h2, king to h7, we have now this one, and after an attack against the rook, knight to f7 was played, and finally mission accomplished here by Vishy. He simply took the pawn on b2, and this is now really game over. King to h3, queen to g7, rook to h6 here after, after queen to g7 in this position. Actually, Veselin Topalov resigned. I've also analyzed, of course, this particular line. For instance, if you play even some ideas of rook to h6, then queen to h6 is going to happen with just trade off everything, and with this passer, this game is over for white. With this win, Vishy Anand became again the world champion in chess. Incredible performance with the black pieces. He played this dangerous Lasker defense. Let's go back. This will be now our subject, as I said, in the continuation of our mini series. Bishop to g5, h6, castling, and now knight to e4. So it's a simplified way to play the Queen's Gambit decline. This lines are leading many times into drawish position. So if you're not satisfied with the outcome, maybe of your games of the Lasker defense, then you should really search something else, because in my opinion it's simply too drawish. I would recommend you, as I said, to go into the Lasker defense idea, not the Lasker defense itself, by playing the so-called Cambridge Spring defense. So let's go back. I'll explain it again what's all about. So we're playing, first of all, the move in the 3 knights variation. We're playing knight to d7. Now bishop to g5 happens. We play now the move c6. And as I said, if our opponent plays now the move e3, then we are, after queen to a5, knight to e4, and bishop to b4, we are in the so-called Cambridge Spring defense. But if our opponent plays, instead of the move let's go maybe... let's go back to this idea. After bishop to g5, we're playing maybe this kind of a line. He plays now the move a3. He's preventing our now move a5. Then we go bishop to e7, knight to c3. Now we play castling, h6, and after bishop to h4, now we play the Lasker defense idea with the move knight to e4. So I've explained that. We have covered also previously a beautiful gameplay by Stockfish, where Stockfish also destroyed with the Lasker idea another top engine Houdini with the black pieces. So please check it out. As I said, I like the Lasker idea, but in the later stage of the game, not immediately, not when the game is simply too simplified, when you have only the chance to make a draw. I think it's a cool idea which is playable, but only afterwards. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this gameplay by Vishy and Topalov. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas. We have seen really wild tactical ideas. Be prepared, we will cover the beautiful World Championship match in 2010 for sure. I'll wait a little bit. I'm still following this Tata Steel chess event, so then afterwards I will cover the bombastic, really brutal games that they played. It was really, in my opinion, really one of the most epic World Championship matches of all times. Be prepared, this will be a beautiful path for us. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the study. I really like this Lasker defense ideas for sure. If you want to see more about the Queen's Gambit decline, please check out our studies with some other defenses that we have covered. As I said, you have many cool ideas: Chigorin defense, Taraj defense, Ragozin, Vienna variation, and many more. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.